So for Tuesday's deadline, we're focused on developing that third body paragraph. And we're going to do that by working on our own drafts, but also viewing our classmates' drafts and giving them some feedback. So for both of those processes, doing our own writing and looking at each other's, I want you to think about EAE. And this PowerPoint's going to walk you through what I mean by that. So the first E in EAE refers to explain. And what each paragraph should do after it presents the link between the evidence from the text and the outcome in the topic sentence, each paragraph should explain the outcome from Miracosta's outcome page before it moves into talking about the specific example from the text. So by explain, I mean you're going to translate the outcome into your own words, remembering to cite Miracosta's page. And to do that, it might be helpful to imagine an audience of ninth graders. How would you explain this formal college language to a ninth grader who's starting to think about what she or he might want to do with their own future and the kind of skills they might need? Finally, it's often very useful to offer an example of the skill explained in the outcome that is not from your career. Just sort of a generic common sense from school or work example that would help someone understand what your outcome is before you move to applying it to your own career choice. And there's that magic word, apply. Once you've explained the outcome, you're then going to apply that outcome to a specific piece of evidence from your text. So you're going to look in your text, and this is where the research comes that takes a lot of time and critical thinking. You're going to look in your text for an example of something that matches that skill. Maybe it's a case study. Maybe it's a chart or some data. Maybe it's a quote. Maybe it's an example, a problem. Who knows? Anything from the text that you think says someone from this career needs to have this skill. And then the application of the outcome comes when you discuss how the evidence that you've presented from your text demonstrates that someone in the field or a career that you've chosen needs to have that skill. So that's the application. So here's the skill, here's the evidence from the text. I'm going to put them together and use the evidence from the text to explain the skill, or use the skill to explain the evidence from the text, or maybe even a little of both those things. That's what we mean by apply. And finally, that last E in EAE is for evaluate. So you've written a paragraph that starts with a topic sentence that connects evidence from your research text to an outcome. Then you explain the outcome. Then you apply the outcome to the evidence. And finally, you evaluate how has this interaction between outcome and evidence influenced how you think about the career. So, does that skill, that required skill, does that appeal to you? Is that interesting to you? Does that seem cool? Is it a skill you feel you already have, so you might be good at it already? Is it a skill you think you're going to have to develop? Is it something that makes you anxious about the career? It worries you that you're going to need this skill, and you're anxious about how you're going to develop it. There's lots of ways you can make this evaluation, but the point is you're saying this is how this all makes me feel about the work. So how can you use EAE? Well, I imagine using it in two ways. First of all, use it right now on your own draft. So as you're revising your earlier body paragraphs and adding a new one, go back and check, is this happening in your paragraphs? Do you have your explanation, application, and evaluation? Have you fully developed those ideas? Don't forget, the sample essay and the rubric give you more guidance on this. Secondly, you can use EAE to give feedback to a classmate. So when you're looking at their paragraph for our next deadline, you can look at literally, all right, here, let me look at your explanation. Here's what I think works. Here's what I think needs work. Let me look at your application. Here's what I think works. Here's what I think needs work. Let me look for your evaluation. Oh, I don't think I see that evaluation. Maybe you could do this, or this. So EAE becomes a nice structure for giving each other feedback. All right, thanks for your time watching this video. See you in Blackboard.